Leave me alone. I don't know how to make that sound more caring or convincing without sounding like an asshole. I'm going to try. Hey, I've had a long day, and what I really need right now is just to have a couple hours to myself so I can unwind. I'm just very stressed out right now, and what really makes me feel good is if I would just go in my room and watch this movie by myself undisturbed. I just wanted to let you know that. That's the best I can do, but what I really need is to just be left alone. So, I'm an introvert at heart. For my whole life, I thought I was kind of more extroverted, but within my youth and transferring over to my old age at 31, I've realized that I actually need my routine to function. And the difference between introversion and extroversion is a really big feat in and of itself. So I just love being by myself. And I'm not saying that I love to be alone or I love loneliness. I'm just saying I really need to just be left the fuck alone on a near daily basis. This is Coffee and Catastrophe with Brent and Gabi.
I relate so much to everything you are saying right now. And you're so right that you don't want to sound like a huge asshole by saying like, I need you to not talk to me and let me go be alone for 2 hours. But like, that's really what it comes down to. I also thought I was a little more extroverted when I was younger. But I've really realized I'm an introvert because I need time away from people to come down. Like, I was telling you before we started recording, I've had for the past 6 weeks something to do every single day for 6 weeks, including weekends. Oftentimes things after school I have to do as well, to the point that I don't have time or energy to take care of myself in terms of like being consistent with my yoga, my meditation, exercising, even like doing laundry and cleaning my house. This is the first weekend I've had in 6 weeks to do that. And it feels awesome to just be away from people, or like, I kind of select the humans I'm around when I'm in these like needing to recoup. Like yesterday, I reached out to my mom and said, hey, would you like to get a cup of coffee or get some lunch? And we actually ended up getting brunch together, and that's fine. I can do like a one-on-one. I'm kind of feeling good and restoring my energy, going out to eat, doing some nice things for myself. But the rest of the day after that, I came home, I took a nap, I watched a movie, I painted my nails. You were talking earlier about Brent is on this horror movie watching kick for the month of October. I watched Bram Stoker's Dracula, which I watch every Halloween. Have you seen that?
No.
Okay, so it's not really a horror movie. It's probably the closest film adaptation of Bram Stoker's Dracula. It was made in the early 90s, and it's like Winona Ryder, and this is, okay, the worst actors in the movie are Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves. They have horrible British accents in the movie. But Gary Oldman plays Dracula, and he's amazing, and Anthony Hopkins is in it. Anthony Hopkins. I almost said Anthony Michael Hall. Isn't that the guy from The Breakfast Club, Anthony Michael Hall?
I believe so.
Okay, Anthony Hopkins is the guy who played Hannibal Lecter, right?
Yes.
It's that dude. Okay, so like it's just so good, and it does do justice to the novel, except that they make Mina and Dracula be like a love thing, and that's not in the book, but it's so fucking good, and I have to watch it every Halloween. And that was like part of my self-care yesterday was that I was like, Gabi, you're feeling so stressed out and low energy. And I also told you, and now I'm going to tell this podcast audience, that I was literally on Wednesday lying on my floor crying because I realized that I haven't had love for myself or been taking care of myself for weeks now. And it's fucking draining me and making me feel horrible. So I like needed to have just a day where I did what felt good, and whatever sounded good to me, I was going to do, because I need that time away from people. So I literally on a Saturday night watched a movie by myself, did my nails by myself for hours, and it was awesome. And I just need that every fucking day after work. Like, I don't need someone to talk to me. I need to go home. I need to do my yoga. I need to watch a movie. I need to watch some YouTube. I just can't talk for like a couple hours.
I totally feel you.
Right?
Like every little thing. I want to be living my life as if I am in a constant state of taking a shit. because what I do when I go to the bathroom, I'm by myself. The door is closed. I do most of my thinking. I do most of my reading.
Do you really do most of your thinking on the toilet?
Yeah.
I can't think when I'm on the toilet.
No, like most of like my most important decisions I've ever made in my life had come through ponderance when I was, push and poop. So
For real?
yeah, dude, it's a very beautiful experience.
No,
for me.
like I get in there, I'm focused on the task at hand and I leave. Like that's like, I can't think in there.
No, dude, that's like, it's pretty much, that one, like, I don't know, when I take a shit, I hear the song Return to Innocence by, Enigma the whole time.
I remember Enigma. Which song is Return to Innocence?
Hi-yo,
So this like tribal vocal calming thing.
Yeah, I'm one with the earth when I'm taking a shit.
I am one with the earth when I am taking. To be fair, it's like something we all do. If there's ever a moment that connects us all as humans, it's when we're taking a shit.
It's a physical cathartic release that we have to do every day.
I do agree with that. Well, we should do it once a day, but not everyone does.
That's why like babies need to be changed in their diapers, because they just don't know how the world works yet, and like they have no control over just like shitting themselves.
Yes.
But imagine if like you really had like last night, like I was just in a complete panic mode on my way home from work, and like I sat in my car, I took off my uniform, and I loosened my belt, and I just heard fuck you, and I was like, it sounded like drunk Andre the Giant in my stomach. And I was like, oh God. And like my brain, like I just heard like my pulse in my head. And it felt like I was in a movie where I was being treated by paramedics, and I was being rushed to the hospital, and like they were like taking my vitals, and like that's exactly what I was doing to myself. But then once I went to the bathroom, like and it was beautiful, and I finished watching a podcast, and I caught up with the world, and I want that in my life outside of the bathroom, and I can only get that when I'm introverted. So I'm very performative in my personality, meaning whenever I'm around people, I'm on. Like there's like literally this on switch.
Yes, same.
Like, one of my fears is like if I ever down the line like live with somebody, and like I'm just constantly around them, you're like, wow, you're a completely different person than from when I met you. And it's just like, no, I'm the same person. It's just this is what it looks like when the curtain, is closed.
Yeah, this is just my reality.
Yeah, and I like being around people, and obviously I learn from people and talk with them. It pretty much all comes down to what I wear. So like right now, I'm basically in my work uniform. Mm-hmm. So I'm ready to go out and like do shit into the world. I have to go to work right after this podcast. But when I'm in my jammies, all bets are off. And if I was ever filmed completely by myself, a lot of people would think I'm absolutely insane. Because I actually like do all my thinking out loud.
You do?
Yeah, there's like these weird, manic, almost schizophrenic like episodes where I'm just like, like within Whisper, the other day, I was hanging out with some friends, and I was talking like Bernie Mac throughout the entire time. But earlier that morning, I was just whispering to myself in Bernie Mac voice, like out loud. I'm like, I tell you like it is, motherfucker, tired of this shit, say this shit. And I'm just by myself doing that. Or like if I'm in the car, like I'm singing to myself, and fucking Selena Gomez comes on, and Selena Gomez really changed my life. So I kind of have to share that change out loud in the car, and I'm like laughing and I'm thinking of stuff, and it's like really manic and crazy. But then as soon as somebody says, hey Brent, I'm like, oh hi, how are you doing today? Yeah, I am very swell. It's like I'm pretty much crazy, but I think because I'm allowed to have that when I have my nightly routine, so pretty much past 8 o'clock, I'm myself, and I need that 4 hours to really reconnect with the world. Yeah. So yeah, nobody's ever seen that side of me.
I was going to say, I'm like, I didn't even know this existed.
Yeah, but it's like I'm being creative. It's kind of like my soul is farting.
Dude, yes, you need those moments for your soul to fart. And that's like that's what, like, taking care of myself and being away from people, that's what that is for me. Because, like, although I like yoga and working out because it is, like, yoga is definitely for me, like, a spiritual practice more now than it is, well, it's a physical one too. But it is a lot of spiritual stuff. And if you would have told me, like, years ago that you're going to be, like, super into yoga and practice, like, your ideal is practicing daily and that, like, you use it as a form to, like, recenter yourself and connect with who you are on the inside, I would have told you go fuck yourself and you know what you're fucking talking about. But that's not the case. The reason I like those things, in addition to the spirituality of them, is the fact that, like, it is time for me. I don't talk to anybody. I'm just there doing my thing, taking care of myself. It's great because I don't have to think. I don't have to communicate. I am just there hurling my body through different poses. It's not really hurling. I was thinking more of, like, hurling up weights or whatever, but I don't really hurl weights either. I have very good form when I work out. But, like, I like that because it's time for me to not talk and just, like, blow off steam. Cause, like, I can't not have that and be a healthy functioning human, because especially teaching, that job is the moment you walk into the building, you are on the entire time. There is no downtime. Like, my friend Shannon and I talk about this a lot. It's like, let's say I come in at 6:30. That's my goal every day, is to get in at 6:30. I don't have students till 7:25, but I need that 55 minutes to be quiet, to get, make sure I have everything for my day, maybe make copies, blah, blah, blah. And really, my department's good. Like, no one's going to really talk to me. And if they do, it's very, like, light chit chat or whatever. But I need that quiet to just, like, get centered and do my shit. Because the moment I have students beginning at 7:25 until 2:50, I am with kids basically every day. The only time I have a break is second hour and fourth hour when I have prep and lunch. But oftentimes, like, kids will come visit me because they need help or they want to talk, or my coworkers will need something from me or, like, something like that. Like, and then at the end of the day, we have to stay in the building till 3:15 per our contract. So then, like, I'm around people and they're talking to me with my coworkers and it's very nice. Or sometimes kids need me to let them into, like, our lab so they can get equipment and, like, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it never fucking ends. And by the end of the time, by the time I'm walking to my car and I get in my car, sometimes I literally just, like, sit there. Do you do that where you just, like, sit in your car?
Yes, I do. Not as often because I usually listen to podcasts or the radio when I'm on my way home. Usually, like, when I'm about to go to something and I'm early. Yeah, that's when I am sitting by myself and just kind of reconnecting. But I need, like, my own space to do that. Mm-hmm. I think my car is the only time I'm ever really truly melding both the worlds, where I have to be a performative extrovert and interact with the world, yet I am, still purely introverted and, like, talking to myself and being completely crazy and off the wall by other people's standards. But it's really just, my soul regulating itself, man. Because if I don't have that, I've tried that before. I've been in, like, situations where I just have not been able to just, unwind. Mm-hmm. It kills me.
Yeah. And I feel like I've been that. Like, if we're going to use, like, the cup metaphor of, like, you need to refill your cup in order to, like, do what you need to in life. Like, my cup is got, like, that, like, last little dribble at the bottom where, like, even if you tried to get that out, like, it'll be on your tongue for a second and then be gone. Like, that's how I'm feeling right now. And if I don't have those releases on a daily basis, I'm just not doing well. And it's not that I don't enjoy being around people, like, as an introvert. Like, I genuinely enjoy being out and around people. But I find that I need to be away from people to feel good and feel whole and to reconnect with my soul. 'Cause it's just, like, it's too much. And actually, it was funny. I had parent-teacher conferences a couple weeks ago, or last week. What the hell am I talking about? Last week. And for some reason, introversion and extroversion got brought up in the meeting. And I said, people think that because I've got black and white hair and a nose ring that I'm an extroverted person or that I'm really out there. But I find that I just need time away from people to heal and to recoup. And he said, well, yeah, just because you express yourself doesn't mean that you are extroverted. And that was, like, the first time in my life that ever made, like, sense. Because people would assume that, like, you and I think we're both performative extroverts. Like, when we're out in the public eye, like, we're funny. we're engaging, people love hanging out with us, like all of that like good mojo shit. People love hanging out with us, but at the same time, like you and I both know, like at the end of the day, I gotta go home and take care of me and be quiet or talk to myself. It's funny you said, are you an auditory learner? Do you learn by listening?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so that's probably why you do that. Whereas I'm a tactile learner, so journaling is really positive for me. But you also journal too.
I've journaled almost. I mean, there have been some days where I've skipped, but I still go back and reflect on those days. I mean, especially recently, because I haven't really had the time to sit down and collect my thoughts. But I am more or less up to date with every single day of the year across multiple journals. And that's where I like, because when I go back and reflect on those, that's when it's the most helpful, not necessarily when I'm writing them in the moment, because that's when I make some of my biggest decisions. It's just, on the toilet, I'm like, oh my God, I felt that back in March.
Same. No, I also have done that where I've like written down different things I was feeling. I did that recently where I went back and I read my journal that I've been keeping since about early March. And I don't write in it every day, although maybe I should build that into my meditation practice. Like after I meditate, I do that. But I realized like some really key things that I'd been putting on the back burner for a long time and that I needed to realize by reflecting on my journaling. And actually, I was just watching last night the documentary Mortified Nation on Netflix. Are you familiar with the Mortified like project and the performance?
No, not at all.
So it's literally adults go around the country. They have performances. They literally read from their journals from when they were kids. And like, it's called Mortified because like usually people are like mortified by like what they wrote or whatever. It's really funny and it's really cathartic. And they had a psychologist on to kind of explain like, why do we even journal to begin with? And she said, when you're journaling, it is a way for you to be taken out of the moment and to reflect on it as you're writing and afterwards. It takes you from an active participant in the moment and moves you back a little bit so you can like write about it and reflect on it. And I thought that I was like, wow, that's exactly like why I do it. And also just like, I need to pour out my thoughts at the end of the day. Most of the time, or if I'm really like need it, sometimes I'm so worked up that I can't get myself to do it or I don't have the time or space to do it.
No, I totally get that. And a lot of the time when I am journaling, it's because I'm so on during the day. So I'd say I have about between 10 and 12 hours during the day where I'm on. I don't really have the time to really think or sift through my thoughts.
Yeah.
So when I have that time past 8 o'clock, I'm able to just sit down and really think about the day. It's kind of like I'm watching a 12-hour long movie and then writing like a review or a critique of it afterwards.
Yeah. So when you're journaling, the way I do it is I kind of just do like a brain dump where I just like everything that's in my head, I spill out onto the page. And I do, what's that? Stream of conscious writing where it's just like whatever comes in, I write down. What's your approach to journaling?
It started off at the beginning of the year very structured. Like, okay, I woke up at this time. I had this for breakfast. I did this today. And then I ended the night by doing this. Now it's pretty much like I go on the very first and important emotion of the day. It could even have happened later on in the day, not necessarily like the first thing when I woke up. So let's just say something happened towards the evening. I had a conversation with somebody, or I had a revelation, or there was a conflict going on. What I do is I write about that first, and then, I go back to like, okay, the day started off like this, or maybe like I had a nightmare or something, and then kind of end with like a closing thought. So sometimes that changes. Sometimes there's like pages and pages of just one day. But most of the time I keep it into one handwritten page, college ruled. Mm-hmm. I like take multiple pages at all times. I also have started doing something like kind of like a gratitude journal, but like I try to at least once a week stop and pause and reflect on what I'm really grateful for in life, or even like trying to wake up every morning and think about that stuff and like set a really positive intention for the day. Like today I'm going to really nourish my body and I'm going to do everything I wanted to do, like work out and practice yoga and do a great job at teaching and be confident in what I'm doing and blah, blah, blah. Like I'll try to do that. But it's funny that you were saying that downtime, because I was thinking to myself, when do I have downtime? And even when I'm preparing for the day to go to work, like I'm on autopilot. I can't think first thing in the morning necessarily about, like, I can't really reflect. I'm just like
yeah, autopilot. I'm just like, okay, I got up, I got on my yoga mat, maybe. I, brushed my teeth, I put on my clothes, I maybe make some breakfast, I leave, I make sure I have my lunch for the day. Like, you can't really reflect doing that. So it really all comes down for me, like, my 8 to 12, which for me with my teacher schedule is like 4 o'clock to 8:30, and then I go to bed.
It's just like that 4 hours. Like, I notice I have that. My dad has that, but in the morning. The guy goes to bed somewhere between 6 and 8 p.m. every night, and then he gets out of bed at like 2 in the morning for no reason. But he goes downstairs and he has like 4 or 5 hours to himself. Yeah. And he doesn't have that at night because when he gets off of work, he works at home. He, has dinner, watches TV with my mom, and then he goes immediately to bed. So he has that ritual in the morning, whereas I have that at night.
Wow, he gets up so if he goes to bed at like between 6 and 8, how many hours of sleep is he getting?
6 on a good night.
Oof. I can't function with anything less than pretty much 7.5 or 8 hours.
Yeah, I need at least 14.
Yeah, you definitely do.
Yeah, I need to, maybe if I get 7 on a good night. But now that we're kind of thinking this through and talking it out, I think I've figured out the difference between introverts and extroverts. So,
what do you think?
Well, typically extroverts are the kinds of people who need to be around people to reconnect. So they're the people where they cannot necessarily handle being by themselves for long periods of time. When you're hanging out with an introverted person, they say, let's stop hanging out at this time so I can go home and do my shit.
Yeah.
An extroverted person says, let's stop hanging out so I can just go to bed right now.
I do both. I think the extroverted person probably is like, let's hang out. And there's no off switch. And then someone's got to be like, yo, dude, I got to like go to bed now. And you're like, oh, okay, sorry. Like, love you, bye.
But like when you're done hanging out with somebody, like I'm done. I'm like, okay, I'm done hanging out. I want to have this time like for myself, like when I get home. Or it's kind of like even when you're texting people, sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm not going to be talking the rest of the night because I just don't want to be so tied to my phone when I'm trying to like regulate myself. Yeah. But sometimes I don't know. It really depends on the day. Like where I'll talk to somebody like right before I go to bed. But usually like with extroverts, they are on the go.
Yeah, and they don't stop. Although like I'm sure that there's like extroverts who need downtime, but at like from people like at moments. But their norm is that they need to be with people. Because I have moments where I need to be with people. Because, like, I know that, like, if I don't go out, like, I will, or see somebody, like, I'm gonna, like, go nuts. Like, not really, but, I have those moments. But, like, my norm is that I need to be alone to re-energize and reconnect with who I am. And building that time in at the end of the day. I think, actually, with Cody, who is on the podcast for our season 1 closer, like he is such an extroverted person. Like he needs to be around people not at all times, like, but he is so extroverted that it's kind of like, this was like the example of like our relationship. It'd be like, hey, it's a Friday night. What do you want to do? And I'm like, I want to just like sit at home and watch TV and make food. And he's like, I want to go out. I want to see people. I want to go to a bar. I want to see all those people. I want to have a party. Blah, 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 blah. And you're like, that's just him. Like he needs to be. And then I'm sitting there and I'm like, feeling like a fucking stick in the mud. And I'm like, what do you mean you want to have people over? I don't want to fucking be here if you're going to be partying. Blah, blah, blah. Cause I'm like, I can't fucking handle that. I'm like, such a bore at parties too. Not really like at parties. Like if I'm at a party and it's like I'm comfortable with the people there, like I'm doing good. But like I can't fucking stand the parties where the idea is to just get like fucking schmacked and shwasted like in a room with each other. Like that's it's not a fun time for me. And that's like oftentimes when Cody and I were dating, that was like the kind of like get-togethers that he would throw, and I would be like, ugh, I'm gonna have an anxiety attack and go to bed. That only happened one time. I was like so anxious. I can't remember why I was anxious, but I was so anxious. I started crying and just went to bed at like 9:00, and everyone else was outside partying.
Dude.
I'm just the worst. I'm just the fucking worst.
When it comes to parties or social gatherings, if I'm being interacted with and like I'm really like using my energy to feed off certain people, then I have a great time. But if it's if I'm part of the party, like the party's part of me, I don't know.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
So everybody could be having fun and drinking and like, whatever, or like whatever the social, like the agenda of the social gathering is, and they're participating in it.
Yes.
I usually like to sit off to the side and like kind of have my own thing no matter where I'm at.
Yeah.
So that usually includes like one or two people talking with me, and certain people just do naturally gravitate towards me.
Yeah.
So I like to think of my introversion as, if I were to make it a physical thing, my introversion is like my big fat tits. So basically, like, I have some big fat tits on me, and, I just want to go home and take off the bra so they can breathe. But when I'm around extroverts, they won't leave my big fat tits alone, and I'm just trying to, like, hide them from these people, and, sometimes they just won't let alone. It's as if, like, they're, like, cats playing with, like, a ball of yarn with catnip on it, and it's just like, okay, I need to regulate, please, I need to take my tits back home and just kind of let them breathe, but you're kind of suffocating them with all of this extroverted attention right now.
It's like they keep trying to tweak your nipples, and you're like, you can only tweak my nipples so much before I gotta go home and rest my nipples.
Yeah, dude, and like they just,
This is the weirdest fucking comparison ever. I love you. This is just so fucking gnarly.
This is how I feel. Like it's not.
You feel like your titties are getting twisted every time.
It's like I'm afraid to carry them out in public in fear of people taking advantage.
I get the bra metaphor. I totally get, because like every woman or every person who has boobs has felt this way, where it's like at the end of the day you come home and you unbind your boobs and you're like, oh, I can fucking breathe. So like I guess maybe extroversion for me is like the bra that I wear to go out in public and to engage with the world properly, quote unquote. But as soon as I come home, that bra fucking comes off the moment I am in my house, and then I just do me.
So I'm not saying big fat tits as like a misogynistic thing. I actually do have big fat tits myself.
Yeah, no. Well, I don't want to say like you do, because that's like rude to be like, yeah, Brent, you got some tits on you. But I think, didn't I compliment you like a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I can really tell you're losing weight because, and I like motioned to your chest, and you're like, yes, my titties are getting smaller.
My titties are getting smaller, but they're still like big and fat, and like, longing for, well, everybody wants to just like look at them. And especially like when I am at my tutor job and I'm like in the hallway and like I just run into people. Some people, they look right in my eye and they don't even acknowledge my tits. I love those people.
There's people who stare at your boobs?
No, all the time.
What?
Yeah, like literally and metaphorically.
Dude, like I feel the same. Like literally and metaphorically, I have the same thing happen.
Yeah.
It's really bad when people don't know how to cover up that they're staring at your boobs. And you, like, have you ever gotten there where they look at your eyes, they look down, they look back up at you, and then you're just like want to be like, are you fucking kidding me? I have called dudes out before. I have called people out, or if they'll like check me out, like while they're trying to talk to me, and I'm like, hi, did you really just do that? That was very awkward. Please don't.
That's how I feel with extroverts in my time. And I could tell, like, when I'm around, like, a very extroverted person. I may have mentioned him on the podcast before, but there's this guy that is the ultimate titty fucker in my hometown, and I'm trying to avoid this guy every chance I get because he's so extroverted and doesn't have any social kind of awareness.
Oh.
That every time, like, I'm just walking in public, I'm, like, hiding my tits, like I'm smuggling, like, Jewish children in Nazi Germany. So, but he sees him and smells them, and like the whole time he just goes up to him and is just motorboating. I'm like, get off my big fat tits, and and I'm the asshole if I say get off my big fat tits.
Well, you talked about this concept with to quote you, time rapers.
Yes,
people who take your time and your energy and all that bullshit. And, then you're the asshole when you want to stop the conversation and get to doing whatever the fuck you were doing before they derailed you.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a problem of control so much as just a mutual understanding. Like, there's some people, like some of my coworkers at my jobs, I don't know them at all. But I say, hey, man, what's up? Hey, I am totally fine with that. That is amazing. You acknowledge...
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
You acknowledge my tits. but you're not trying to,
motorboat them
or fucking
tweak them,
slap them and punch, elbow them, like
Ow, that's like, this is like hurting my boobs just talking about it.
This is how I feel.
Your feelings are totally valid. My boobs are hurting from this.
Yeah. So I mean, but that's just like how it is. Like being an introvert is like your big fat tits are always on attack. Even if you don't think you have tits, you have big fat tits when you're a introvert. And
but a performative extrovert, as we've talked about, you and I are performative extroverts. Like I will get up on a stage and play music and kick and scream and do crazy shit. But at the end of the day, I need to go be alone. Even from like my best friends who I love very dearly. When we were on this like trip to Disney World, like I loved being with them, but I was the only person who, I came in on a later flight and left earlier than them because I couldn't take off of work because it's during the school year. And so I had like several hours to and from Disney World where I was just by myself. And especially coming home and being alone, it was nice to have the unwinding time of not having to talk to people but I love my girlfriends and I would never take away the time that we had together, but it was more so just like this is like how I work in that, like, I love you. I love that we're having fun. I need to go be alone now. And that's, I think that's just so hard because like some people think that's sad and some extroverts just don't get it, but it's like, that's like what we have. That's what I have to do to feel like a human being.
It's just how we regulate ourselves and connect with the world, And I'm going to a concert next Friday to see Florence and the Machine, and I'm going to be I've only been to a concert with one other person in my whole life who shares the concert going experience the exact same way I do, and I think it's awesome. We just sit there and observe. We, like our legs are crossed and our hands are folded in our lap and we're just attentively paying attention. And when the song is done, we just lightly like clap and
like at the opera.
Yeah. Just like a very we're just like appreciative, but like some people are like throwing their fists in the air and
that's me.
Yeah. I just, I can't enjoy like anything like that. I think when I'm losing track of time the most is when I'm just like still and observant. And I think that's because of my introversion. And, it's like my big fat tits are just kind of like on point at that time. And all of my close friends understand this about me as well, which is why I have them in my life as close as they are. I've only had about 2 extroverted friends that were very close to me throughout my whole life. And I could tell that while I do have a lot of fun with them, some of our perceptions and values of our time is drastically different than with my introverted friends. So there's 3 people that you can really connect with. There's people or that I really connect with. There's the friends that you can just be bored with. Those are the ones that I usually thrive with the most. And then there's the friends that you can talk to and the friends that you can do things with and go out and do things with. And I'm just trying to find one person that's kind of all 3. But it's been very hard in that journey. Yeah. But I would say I have nothing against extroverts. It's just that the world is built around extroversion, like going out, having friends, partying, like you're always within groups of people, whereas, the introverts kind of create the world, and I guess the extroverts kind of organize it in a way.
Yeah.
Because, we're alone, with our thoughts and stuff. And extroverts have thoughts, too, so I'm not...
They don't. They don't have thoughts. They have no thoughts. They're just walking zombies that need human attention.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not knocking their intellect nor their, needs and desires. It's just the way that we need to... I guess, feel whole again. Because if you, take an extrovert and you just say, okay, sit here for a day, they'll shake after a few hours. If you put an introvert in that situation, be like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Take out my big fat tits. And I'm going to keep saying that until it gets really weird. But if it's not so already. But extroverts, if you say, all right, we're going to go to this, big group situation. All right, I'm down. Introverts no, dude, I can't. Oh, God, I got anxiety thinking about going to this group. All right, I'm going to go here. Hey, what's up? All right. Get off my tits. Ah!
I do have to mentally prepare myself for hanging out with people sometimes. Like, not all the time. But, like, for example, yesterday someone's like, hey, you want to hang out? I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I can't do spur of the moment hangouts. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, God. I mean, like, I can't be as impulsive as I used to be. There's only very few times where a friend has called me up or texted me saying, hey, what are you doing today? And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing nothing. Let's hang out. Maybe it's happened 5 times in the past few years.
Same. Like, I'm just, like, at the space in life where I'm like, I need my quiet time. There's nothing better to me than, like, yoga, meditating, journaling, getting my fucking thoughts and feelings out by myself in a room alone, not having to talk to people. You add some good food or, like, cup of coffee to that, and I'm just, like, a happy camper. I was thinking about this. Like, what do you think makes us introverts and extroverts? Are we born this way? Are we conditioned to be this way? Because I know for a fact, you'd mentioned that only about 2 of your really closest friends are extroverts. And I was reflecting, I'm like, yeah, really, my closest girlfriends are introverts. And they are not really extroverted necessarily, although they probably are performative extroverts like I am. But, like, where does it come from? Like, would you is it a parental thing? Is it a societal thing? Is it a friend thing? Like, what is it?
I don't know the research on this nor the studies. I'm just going off on a hunch. I'm not going to say that it's socially constructed because no one would want to socially construct an introvert. Say, like, here, you're going to go in this room for 4 hours, do whatever you want, and stay away from people. You'll feel better. Like, no one would instruct that the same way. Like, hey, why don't you go out with your friends? Why don't you go have fun?
I guess.
Why don't you go be with people? You know.
I guess because it is socially it's societally and socially advantageous to be extroverted, not to be introverted. So I could see that.
I think it's perhaps a personality trait. So, for instance, maybe there's some sort of like trait, a little bit of trait neuroticism, maybe a little bit of trait openness. Maybe.
Oh, are you talking about Ocean, the personality identifiers?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, Ocean is openness. I think it's openness, neuroticism, and then there's 3 other ones.
Like, is it like conscientiousness? Is it
yes.
Assertiveness?
Yes.
Like something like that.
Yeah, all of those things make up your personality. Yeah, Ocean. That's the anagram, is that correct?
Something like, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it really is a personality trait because, I don't know, like even with the extroverted friends that I've made and the introverted friends that I've made I'm very attracted to the like artistic types. Mm-hmm. And like even like one of my extroverted friends is very artistic, like, you know, like is very creative and just like, kind of brilliant with how he, you know, like makes his artwork. Mm-hmm. So it's just a way to, I don't know. I'm at a loss right now because I'm just thinking about, you know, just being an introvert and just being very out of place. I've never really genuinely felt truly connected to anybody ever.
I was literally just having this thought yesterday and I asked my mom if this is normal, and she said yes. And because moms know everything, she must be correct. But I had this moment where I told her, I'm like, you know, the friends that I have do different things for me in terms of not like sociopathic, like I'm friends with them because they do things for me, but that they serve different purposes and needs for my life. But no one is 100% exactly like me to hang out with or whatever. And my mom's like, that's totally normal. I totally feel the same way. I think that everyone you have this bunch of friends that serves this and this bunch of friends that serves that and this friend that, you know, you can call for this and this friend, you know, you can call for that. So, I totally feel you. And I guess because all moms are correct in everything they ever say, it's normal.
Yeah. It's almost as if everything I'm doing is a constant gamble. So either like with the things that I say, the things that I think, the things that I do to interact with other people, it's always like a 50-50 gamble. So I think I've narrowed down my being this year by saying I say the wrong things the right way and it's 50-50 at the right time.
Yeah, but I think that goes for everybody.
Some people always say the right things at the right way at the right time.
Well, but it's not always. They've got to have an error rate on that. You know what I mean?
Right. I've met people who say the wrong things the wrong way at the right time.
I could see that. No, I feel like you've never said anything to me that was like, that was the wrong thing to say. Like that's never been my experience with you. So I'm kind of like, what?
My big fat tits, man.
Oh, the big fat tits. Well, yeah, but that's like funny. And that's just like you. So like.
Right. But that's not necessarily the right thing to say.
Sure. But okay.
I said it the right way, though.
Yeah, I guess I could see that.
So, and the timing may or may, when I edit this podcast, you'll
decide if it's appropriate or not. Well, I was just thinking like, I think it is probably it has to be something genetic, because your personality is oftentimes facets of it are inherited from your family. And then the environment you're in either like heightens them or suppresses them. So, like my mom, I think is a pretty extroverted person. I don't think she's an introvert. I think when she's away from people, she feels lonely and she doesn't really like it. But my dad is this introvert that's a performative extrovert. And actually he and his friends refer to him as an enigma in that he hates people, but must be around them at all times to feel like good. Not all the time, but he has to be around them. So maybe both of my parents are pretty extroverted. My brother and I are definitely introverted. Like Matt is totally an introvert. But that being said, he did theater forever, as did you, and as did I. Like, I didn't do it forever, but we can be performative extroverts, but at the end of the day, like we need that time to be alone to rekindle our flame and fill our cups and feel better. Because, oh man, if I was just around people like all the time, that's the one thing I'm worried about being a musician. Nah, like you're always around people, like when you're touring, but at the same time, you do have times you're alone. I don't know. I just don't want to end up in a situation where I'm like, I feel like I've been going endlessly for 3 months and I can't calm down.
Like that's one of my fears about being a comic is like, hey, tell that funny joke. Like, do my person, like, oh God, all right, I'm gonna surgically remove my tits because you're just causing me so much back pain.
Hey, I mean, you can do that.
Yeah, but I was thinking about doing it, but I figured if I did that, then I don't know. I just need to use them to interact with the world better. But I'm thinking,
because if you removed them, you wouldn't be you.
Yeah, I'm thinking if one of the similarities with introversion and extroversion are one of the same, and that's within being an introvert, I'm a master of my own world, and I know I'm really good at it because I am in control of the things that I think and feel like when I am winding down. When it comes to creating art, that is a product of the time that I have set aside for myself to regulate and to really come up with something creative. But because the society is, more of an extroverted system, I kind of want some sort of reward for becoming a master of their world too. So for instance, like if I can monetize comedy or art or podcasting, that would be the ultimate form, and I would be ultimately fulfilled. I like the jobs that I have now, but being creative and having that monetized and being secure with that money is the goal.
It's funny you say that because today, before you came over, I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, which is On Being with Krista Tippett. And it's this series where she interviews all these different people, poets, musicians, authors, scientists, researchers, pretty much anybody. It has this running thread of like theology. Like she asks people like, the first question is like, what was your spiritual or religious life growing up? And then it just goes from there. But she was talking with Michael Longley, who is a famous Irish poet. And she was talking to him about the language of the poetry that he was using. And a part of me started just thinking like, wouldn't it be lovely to make my living off of just talking about the beauty of language and interviewing people? And I literally started like tearing up, and I can't explain why. That's been happening. Maybe it's because I haven't been taking care of myself, but I've been finding there's these moments where all of a sudden I'm just like tearing up, and I can't really explain why, but I have like really profound thoughts, and all of a sudden they like bring me to tears for a little bit. Not that I'm sobbing, it's just like all of a sudden like the tears well up and a couple shed, and then I'm kind of done. But I had this moment where I was thinking like, wow, like I do love like talking to people, although I need my time to myself to like recoup or whatever. And I love learning and all that stuff. But I was like, God, what a beautiful life it would be to just like sit and interview the most fascinating people and talk about language and life and philosophy. Like, oh my God, that just sounds awesome.
Dude, hell yeah, man. I totally feel you with the feeling, the intense emotion in the moment, you know, like this year more than any other year in my whole life. I've felt that like life-changing epiphanic thoughts.
Yeah, no, totally. I feel the same. Like we've talked about like, I think this year I've made a lot of growth personally and trying to be more positive, and it's really, it's positively impacted my life because of it. And like, you know, just being reflective about like my life and my existence and what I want. And I'm really now in that space where I'm going for it and it's all there and it's all lining up and it feels amazing. But like even right now, like as I'm saying that everything's lining up, I'm having this profound moment where like I want to start crying right now because I'm thinking about all the good things that have come into my life and are coming into my life. And that space of like gratitude is just like awesome, but it's also like so profound that it moves me to tears.
Hell yeah, dude. And when you listen to somebody else like articulate those words that you've felt before but couldn't articulate, see, like,
oh yeah,
when you don't have, like, this is why I really stress for people to like read and educate themselves, because like we think emotionally, but we also think within language. And if you can articulate how you feel, all the feelings that you've ever felt in your whole life, like, you know what they feel like, you know, like fear, like pretty much every topic that we've talked about on this podcast, everybody has ever, you know, who has ever lived has had those feelings, but not necessarily like the words to articulate with an accuracy how those things have felt to us.
Yeah, definitely. And so I think that part of the gift that we have in this podcast that we've manifested is some of our words really resonate with our audience and some of our words don't, but that's okay because those words weren't meant for them then. Like if there's something we say that doesn't jive with you, like that's fine. If you keep listening, eventually you find something you pretty much understand and get with us. Like the titty metaphor, there's probably a lot of people who don't get that, but at the same time, like the people that do get it are laughing hysterically. And then we have these really like serious moments. Like the beauty about you and I is that we can be like stupid, funny, ridiculous, and then we can be really serious like this. And that like within that gamut, I think that's all of humanity, and everyone can be like that if they so choose. And so that's like something so beautiful that we bring together. And if for the people who don't like or don't have the time to sit down and read, we have this podcast where we kind of like do all of that stuff. And I'm totally with you there. I think that one of the saddest things about the education system is it doesn't treat reading and educating oneself as the empowering act that it is. Oftentimes it's a punishment, it's busy work, it's not, you know, it's not trying to find information, it's not an act of entertainment or joy or pleasure, it's usually just like a punishment. So I'm so for people educating themselves and reading like whatever the fuck you're interested in. Pick up a book and read, or get an audiobook. Like I'm the type of person, like even as an English teacher, I don't have the time to read at night because I'm usually healing myself from the day and coming down from people. So I will put on an audiobook when I'm driving to and from work, and that's good. That's good enough for me or whatever. Dude,
yeah. Like I think with my introversion and just discovering it over the years, I think what really makes us, you know, performative extroverts is that we are genuinely interested in people.
Yeah.
And we're genuinely interested in things, maybe not as much as people, but this kind of perception that I've come into this past year has just been, I'm so interested in just talking with people that, like when I talk to you, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to me. And I'm talking to everybody else, you know, and everybody else is talking to me. And it's because we're all human.
Yeah.
And there's certain things that I have to do with this body to regulate it. I have to sit down and, you know, collect my thoughts. But we are all kind of participating in this shared experience, like right now, like in this time.
Yeah.
So we all have things that are very unique to us, but we're all riding this wave of just humanity, you know, and like just to become like the best humans. And I think that's where introversion and extroversion kind of regulates that. So in order to like ride this wave correctly, like this is our way of getting back on that surfboard.
Yeah.
You know, so if I need to be by myself for 4 hours every night before bed, that's how I get back on the wave. Same with extroverts. Like if they have to ride that wave with other people,
Yeah.
that's totally understandable. But dude, we're all like totally human.
Yeah. Well, and that's like the beauty of humanity is that we're all so different and diverse, yet at the same time we have this core that connects all of us. And even though we as humans, as introverts or extroverts, some of us need to be away from people to heal and restore and to connect. The others do the opposite. Yet there's a need in that we all reinvigorate or re-energize in a way. Like we all need at some point as humans to re-energize our beings. We do it differently, but at the end of the day, we're always need to have that way that we re-energize and feel good. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like there's just, we always as humans like have to re-energize to feel good, whether it's seeing people or not seeing people. We still have these moments where we have to, you know, if life is a cassette, we hit pause, we hit stop and then rewind. And then we, you know, or if it's a slate and it's filled with, you know, markings and words and chalk dust, then we have to clear the slate. Like, you know, whether you do it with somebody or without, we all have to do that at some point. And like, it's one of the many things that connects all of us, that we have to do this resetting, this re-energizing moment for us. Cause life does require energy and output. And so we need that time to reset after that.
Every single day.
Every single fucking day.
And if we don't have that reset, like we completely wither away. You know, if you have an extrovert who's just, you know, home alone for like a long period of time, they're completely miserable. If you have an introvert that's just always like on and doing things and doesn't have them time for themselves, that's when they're miserable.
Yeah.
And I've been there so many times.
Right. And I think that ultimately, like, there's really true extroverts and there's really true introverts. But I think at the end of the day, I think maybe there's a lot of people that are like you and I, where we're performative one way, but internally another. And I think that's fine and justifiable. But it's just like something that happens and that is a part of us. It's very natural.
And I can tell I've been really apt to knowing who's introverted and extroverted, like just in public. There's only been a few people I've interacted with where I got it wrong the first time through. Mm-hmm. Not because they were being mysterious. It's just that they were being so good at being a performative extrovert and like being like assertive and like initiating. Mm-hmm. Like the initiation part is usually my big clue. Like, oh, you're extroverted as fuck.
Yeah.
You know, but the introverts, like you could just kind of tell like where, you know, you're talking to them and you have to get in a very particular way with your words in order to like hold their attention. But most of the time they're just like temporarily like agreeing, nodding their head with what you're saying. I'm like, oh, you're an introvert just like me.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be talking right now, but here we are.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
But extrovert is like, I find with introverts, I share silence with a lot more profoundly than with extroverts. With introverts, I share silence. With extroverts, I share moments.
Moments of talk or moments of what? Because I think that I share moments regardless. It just matters if they're moments of silence or moments of experience beyond language or beyond lack thereof language.
Yeah. So I think anything could be categorized into a moment. Perhaps mine is like, if I did it like with somebody, I could share that with extroverts or like with, at least with that participation. Because we can like experience something together and have two completely different, you know, viewpoints of it.
Yeah.
With an introvert, I know it's one and the same every single time because typically like whenever we do share that silence, I know what we're both thinking about. I know what we're both, you know, taking away from that experience. But with extroversion, it's kind of like maybe you're sharing history in a way, like something like an event in time. Of course, you'll remember those moments with, you know, an introvert, but at least extrovert, I would say that they're kind of more maybe within the present in terms of what's going on around them, whereas introverts are kind of in this constant state of past and preparation for the future, and that formula makes it present. I don't know if that made any sense.
No, that makes sense.
But at least the extroverts, like, they're able to just say, like, oh, yeah, like, we're in the present. Like, we're here right now. Just do it.
Yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
But do it, dude. But introverts, it's just, okay, how do you just do it?
And I think that it really goes into, you have to know who you are and you have to take care of yourself ultimately at the end of the day. Are you the type of person that needs to be with people? All right, so you build in time to see people. Or if you're like you and I, who at the end of the day, you need to be alone and not talk. I feel like talking takes so much energy. Even like, I love this podcast so much, but even like, I find that after we talk, like, I do have to be quiet for a long time to just like, this is a lot of energy and thought. And I actually, while you were speaking, I realized that we're pretty much like potty-mouthed philosophers in a weird way. And that like what we do here is like wax poetic and philosophical about like just various things in life. And that, we maybe the part of the reason that we are so good and apt at that is because we are introspective introverts and we have that time to ourselves to not think. To think and to be away from people and all that.
Yeah, we really have the burden that we really need to rely on ourselves, whereas extroverts have the burden where they really need to rely on others.
Oh yeah, and that bleeds into like everything in my life practically. Now there's times where I've felt too lonely, too much has gone away from people. Like when I was in college, I felt very lonely and I didn't have like positive interactions with people a lot or whatever. So again, it's like it comes back to this notion that we're all really multifaceted. We're all really unique and complex and diverse and simple all at the same time. We're just walking fucking riddle, enigma, mystery beings.
The look on your face when you said that afterwards.
Yeah, I just like smiled.
Yeah, but that's what makes us all human, dude. And we're all just kind of trying to figure it out, like when we go. And I used to kind of be more apprehensive to introversion because I remember I had a friend who was extremely introverted, and I remember we were riding like the train to like the city, and the whole time we didn't speak, and she was just like on her headphones, like listening to music the whole time, and literally like we did not share one word. And I was there, kind of just like.
I would feel weird, yeah.
Yeah, I still feel weird about that because there was no like agreed upon like understanding, but that was more of just I don't know. Maybe that was just a kind of shitty moment, like on both ends. But I don't know. At least with me, like I'm trying to be more honest with people. It's like, okay, dude, look, I need to take a break from this. I can't just. I need to take care of myself.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's really helped me out too because I'm able to just kind of repopulate, like the world with what's important to me.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that knowing that and doing that makes us better and more whole and good. This was so deep.
Yeah.
Well, do you have anything more to say about introverts and extroverts?
I would just say, if you're an extrovert and you don't understand why someone needs that time to regulate themselves, just try to externalize that by saying, why do you need to be assaulting their big fat tits at all point in times? And if you're an introvert, you need to understand that extroverts need to fondle big fat tits in order to make themselves feel whole. So nobody wins unless it's through like an agreed upon conversation and understanding. It's like, okay, you can only play with them now, but at 8:00, I need to put them away.
Yes.
They're like, okay.
And you have to respect that boundary because and it's not that introverts don't like people. It's not that introverts hate people. It's not that they are misanthropic and hate humanity or that they don't like you. It's just that they need that time for themselves to feel better.
Yeah, and I've really come to realize that I've appreciated and loved people a lot more once I removed myself from political discourse.
I think that there's a lot of truth in that. When you remove yourself from it, it feels a lot better. And that being said, I just shared recently on Facebook, it was on those lawn signs and it said, "Kill all humans, you meatbags had your chance, Bender 2016 from Futurama." And I was just like, yes, this is the type of political content that I need.
Yeah.
Because everyone can agree, fuck this shit. But yeah,
dude, like it keeps going back to that picture that somebody took of me and my coworker at the warehouse job. I was an introverted, kind of like open, kind of free dude, sharing a moment with a very extroverted, you know, supposedly supposed to be a racist, and we took the time to look at the rainbow in the dark.
Just a rainbow in the dark.
Just a rainbow in the dark.
That's gonna be stuck in my head all day now.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, dude, we should all just get along.
Yeah, kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya. All right, this was Coffee and Catastrophe with Brent and Gabi. If you enjoyed this, you can like us on Facebook. You can subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, CastBox. And you can also follow us on Twitter at CCWBG.
All right. Thank you. And be good to each other.
Bye now.